Let us control the money, and we not care who makes the laws. Nathan Rothschild. For those of you who don't know who the Rothschild family is, they're from the 17th century, and they're arguably the richest family in the history of the world. They may be richer than the Walton family. They may be the richest family in the world. But in any case, what is the definition of inflation? Inflation is when your money is being eroded. Your money is being eroded, you're getting less value for your money. It's a general increase of prices and the fall of purchasing power to you. There are many types of inflation. Let's start with one, asset inflation. Personally, I believe that's what's going on now. I believe assets are being inflated because pension funds and high net worth individuals are faced with what is called a liquidity trap. They have nowhere to put their money to get the yields they need. So that's where you might wind up with asset inflation and an asset bubble. There's also commodities price, oil. All these elements out there can be inflated and cause grief to America and the rest of the world. There's wage inflation. That also is going on now. When I say now, it is the end of COVID, it is in July, it's in the middle of July. So what I'm saying is there's wage inflation out there now. There's a lot of people, employers looking for employees, and the employees not responding. My last video is going to explain in detail why that's happening. Real estate inflation. When I say real estate, I don't mean just housing. I'm talking about REITs, I'm talking about commercial properties, rentals. That's another type of inflation. And probably the biggest inflationary factor is healthcare inflation. I mean, the healthcare costs are going through the roof, as you well know. Now there's two other types of inflation, and I'm going to go in at the end and sort of make this make sense for you, but bear with me. There's fiscal inflation. That means it is something that is being caused by the government, the Congress, or the president. They result in taxes, rebates, tariffs against foreign countries, trade treaties, infrastructure, and what is known as black swans, which are unforeseen dramatic effects that are negative, like COVID, for example. Then there's monetary inflation. Monetary inflation is done by central banks, such in the United States, we call it the Federal Reserve Bank. In the UK, they call it the Bank of England. I believe in Japan, they call it the Ministry of Finance. But typically, in most cases, they are separate autonomous organizations for the government. And they have certain prevailing rights given to them, such as controlling inflation and unemployment and making sure the currencies are staying in value. Now, there are different types of measuring inflation. I'm not going to go really into it in great detail. They call them running inflation, walking inflation, and creeping inflation. What they are the levels, percentages of inflation. Obviously, running inflation has a higher inflation rate than creeping inflation. Let's also talk about hyperinflation. Hyperinflation is something that was experienced in Germany at the end of World War I, when the Weimar, their republic failed, and there were stress put on the German government that made them print money. Now it's important, printing money. Now if you go back and remember, supply and demand, if you have a lot of supply, the price drops. And it's the same thing with money. Then there is stagflation. Stagflation is what we lived through, or what I lived through in the late 70s when the prices were going through the roof. Okay, now we're going to talk a little about central banks, and then we're going to talk a little about deflation. But what central banks, as I said before, they have a purpose. They are autonomous from the finance department or treasuries. They control the money supply. They make sure the economy is strong. They make sure prices are stable. And they make sure the interest rates are within reason. They control the money supply. And, well, let's just bring it all in conclusion. Inflation is just the erosion of your power to buy things. It's an erosion of your purchasing power. Don't get confused with the rate. The general term of inflation means your purchasing power is being eroded. I'd like to thank you very much for your time. I'd like to you give me a thumbs up and give me a subscribe. I really need your help, and have a great day. Bye-bye.